And all right. So connecting to YouTube Live now. And welcome back, everyone. Here's another interview with another HBCU alum, and his name is Brandon Long. He's coming from, well, you're in the DC area, I believe.
Yep, just outside
All
of
right.
DC. Yeah.
All right. So welcome. Thank you for your time. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. So we've known each other for a few years. I think, needless to say, we both are fans of the state of North Carolina. Part of it is, you went to North Carolina A&T, which is based in Greensboro, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, and then I was an hour away at Duke, and then like I said before, I did not realize for a while that North Carolina is this hub for HBCUs. It's like there's a large number of them, and then each one is big.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh, I knew about Central 2 miles away, but then I think you guys have what, 13,000?
It's growing. Well, they keep breaking a new record every year with this, remote learning and things going on here.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
And the
crazy.
thing is, that's twice the size of Duke, and then Central is like 8,000, which is also bigger than Duke.
Mhm.
Then I know there's Winston-Salem State, Fayetteville State.
Yep.
I mean, there's just so many more. There's the one in Elizabeth out on the coast.
Yep.
Um, but I think the main thing is we actually did not know each other through that. We met each other in April 2016 at an HBCU hackathon in Atlanta, put on by the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, which I interviewed Alex in earlier, and it was the same thing. We met each other there,
Yeah.
and so at that hackathon, it's funny. We both had to travel 2 states away to meet each other.
Funny enough, that's my hometown. So I
Yeah,
drove down there too. Was excited
yeah.
to go home.
So it made sense for you. Hey, mom, dad, what's up? I'm back home.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So go ahead and tell us a little bit more about you as a person.
Yeah. So a little bit of background. Like I said, I'm from Georgia, Stone Mountain, just outside of Atlanta. Second of three boys and first generational college graduate. So neither of my parents went to university.
Yeah.
Studied computer science, and since then it's just been one thing after another. I got to spend a year at Microsoft as a software engineer, then moved back to the East Coast, spent some time at a company called Appian Corporation, and now I'm at a startup company called Dutchy based in Oregon. So all over the place. In addition to that, I've gotten
Based in
married.
Oregon.
Yeah, man. So most random thing ever. It's a cannabis marketplace, and so we work with dispensaries all across the country and Canada. So it's a pretty dope space to be in. No pun intended. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, since college, I've also gotten married, and soon to be a father. So there's a
Yeah.
lot going on since I
Congrats.
graduated. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, it's just funny to me that you're saying, "Oh yeah, I'm working for a company out in Oregon." I was like, "Wait, I didn't know it was based over there. I thought they're based in DC or something."
Yeah, man.
I mean, that's the
Well,
power of tech. You're able to work from
yeah.
wherever you want. So,
The bittersweet part of COVID, right? So definitely there's a lot to be thankful for considering all that happened last year. But one of the biggest things that came out of that is the opportunity for fully remote jobs, and so
yeah,
fully grateful for that, especially with our son being born soon, being able to be home and watch him grow and all that good stuff. So it's exciting.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Bet your parents are excited too. Your brothers, it's like, oh man, it's coming up, coming up.
Yeah, man. I got two brothers, and then my wife's got several brothers and sisters. So all of
Yeah,
them are excited to have another nephew. So
big family.
yeah, man.
So, uh, I want to touch on something. This isn't something that comes up all the time, but for first generation students, and this is something that I understand for myself. A lot of people, when they think of college, I mean, I know right now we're kind of in the whole debate of how much money do you pay for your name on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
But something I think that is different for us as first generation students is we're not just graduating to see our first name on the diploma. We're also doing it to see our family's name
Yeah,
on that diploma for the first time.
for sure. Yeah.
And I don't know if your older brother went to college, but for me, I am the oldest. So for me, it was literally the first time, which,
Yep.
it doesn't take away from what you did. But I think at least being the very first person, not just the
Mhm.
first generation, there is a little bit more significance in that I mean, unless you maybe take some time off, or a younger brother or sister graduates even faster, usually you would be the first person to put that family name on a diploma at all.
Hmm.
But I think, for me and you, we definitely went through college kind of thinking, you know, a lot of people are like, oh man, college is hard. Maybe I take a semester off. And it's like, but what if I don't finish? And no one ever puts that name on that diploma.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, similar boat. I was the first. My older brother
Okay.
didn't do the university route, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, to some people, it's also a lot of weight.
Yeah.
But for me, it definitely was exciting. My parents, education has always been a big thing, and something that I picked up along the way was a quote from Nelson Mandela that education is actually one of the most powerful things you can use to change the world. And
Yeah.
so now for me, it's like I got to go back and share that knowledge as much as I can. So
Yeah.
I didn't mention this, but one of the things I do also is I volunteer teach high schoolers 2 days a week to try to
Oh,
teach them computer science and share some of the things that I paid for my name to be on a paper to, kind of
yeah.
share some of that knowledge. So, because when I was in college, I mean, when I was in high school, they didn't have computer science. And
Mm,
so you'd be surprised at the number of schools that still don't offer it as a course. And so
yeah.
the specific program that I'm working with is basically bringing that into schools that don't have that opportunity.
Wow. Yeah. It's because for me, growing up in small towns, it's just kind of a given to me that if you're in Atlanta, if you're in a city that I know, you how would you not have these things?
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
then you're saying, well, that's the thing. Not every school has it. And of course,
Yeah.
it makes sense. You think about it and realize these schools in these cities, yeah, they might have it, but there are also underfunded, underserved
Hmm.
schools.
Yep.
And one thing I did at Duke, Coach K had built a youth center called the Emily K Center. He named it after his mom, and it
Hmm.
was right off campus, maybe a mile at most. I remember I would just jog there half the time, and those kids, the idea was helping underprivileged kids get a lot of the academic enrichment they need to not just to say, all right, you should graduate from high school and then go to college, but we identify you as a kid with promise. You're not necessarily going to go to Duke or Carolina on a full ride, but wherever you go, you're going to be a campus leader.
Yeah.
And if you decide to go to Duke or Carolina, you're equipped to lead on that campus. But
Hmm.
then if a kid who could have gone there says, I want to go to Guilford College, I'm like, I've never heard of it. Why do you want to go there? And he says, because I can create impact from day one as a freshman.
Right. Yeah.
I want to do that. And this other girl says, yeah, I want to go to the same school for the same reason. I'm thinking, man, these are the kids that I would be proud to call an alum. It's
Yeah.
like I'm an alum of Duke. I wish you would go to my school because we would love to have you. And they're saying, yeah, maybe grad school, but right now that school needs me more. I was like,
Right.
is there any way I can convince you that Duke needs you more?
Yeah,
But
it's really amazing when you work with students that come
yeah,
from, different backgrounds and to see how like amazed and how excited or how eager they are to get into spaces that they've never had the opportunity to even have before. It's really humbling as well, having gone through different experiences like in comparison to theirs, but it's just really fun to be able to give back in any way possible.
definitely, definitely. I guess when you work with them, obviously you give them lots of advice, but I guess if you could only give one piece of advice, what would you tell them?
Especially for the ones because I'm focusing on computer science, mine would be particularly like don't give up,
Yeah.
especially with computer science and how it is and a lot of the coursework. You know, just like any degree, we're going to get taught things that we probably will not use in our day to day, but
Yeah.
those are those are the things that typically end up weeding out a lot of us, unfortunately. And so, a lot of the students I'm working with, and in particular, we're trying to get more minorities and more women into STEM. My biggest advice to them is like, this is a place for you, for one, and two, it's going to be challenging, but don't give up. That's like the biggest thing I always tell the students.
Yeah, yeah. And this is a little separate, but still related because you're talking about there's space for you. This is a space where you can be. And I think where some people might not understand, um, at least for me, growing up being the only Asian kid, for me, representation wasn't really a thing. I mean, I know for most people, they'd be, I wish I had it. Where for me, I was just more, well, who plays shooting guard? Who wears basketball jerseys all the time? So I had a little different of a mindset, but the average person also still doesn't understand how big of a deal it is to see representation. And you're
Yeah.
saying, kids, I know it's a hard field to get into, but look at me. I'm one of you 10
Hmm.
years in the future, 4 years in the future. I'm in this field. You can be there. And they see
Right.
you as the physical representation
Hmm.
of what they think they want to be. And then that turns into they know they want to be.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I didn't even actually give the name of the organization. It's called TEALS, TEALS, and it's actually under the Microsoft family now. But that program alone, like, I feel like I don't think it was actually in direct correlation with President Obama's like Computer Science for All initiative, but that's essentially what it is, like Computer Science for All. So, yeah,
Okay.
it's students like, yeah, like myself or like you, like who were like the one of the only person from their background where at their school. So it's definitely amazing just to have that opportunity, even as the person doing the teaching.
Yeah, yeah. I will say this, sometimes you do come across a student who's just like, Mister, how do you not know this? And it's like, all right, how about you go teach those kids?
Yeah.
You
Right.
know so much more. Go teach them for me.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I
Yeah.
think that's an amazing thing that they have opportunities we didn't have.
Hmm.
And if they're taking advantage, hey, more power to you because education is not zero sum.
Yeah.
If you're doing better than me, well, more power to you, right?
Hmm. Yeah, for sure.
So, I think one of the cool things is I didn't I didn't realize that President Obama had this initiative, Computer Science for All. I mean, I know every president has various things,
Hmm.
but I didn't realize for President Obama that that specific one existed. Now, I do
Yeah.
know the Obama Foundation, at least in Chicago, maybe other cities, but they partnered with Urban Alliance Chicago to create the Obama Youth Job Corps, and they're really trying to target South Chicago kids and say, all right, what skills do you need to get into the real world and succeed? Not necessarily to
Right.
go to college, because some of you it's just not feasible for various reasons, but at least when you graduate high school, you can go and work.
Hmm.
And at worst, you then save up to go to college, or maybe, hey, you're ready to go to college and you can still work. So I think it's really cool that, um, to have a president who says, you know what, here are problems that need to be solved. And I, as any president, we can solve this, but then I can be the physical representation for a lot of Americans who might just be like, well, okay, I missed out. Well, not anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
guess, sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just going to say, I remember like when I was in university, there was this program. I don't think they still do it, but it was like HBC, White House Initiative on HBCUs. And that's when I really found out about that initiative from the Obama administration. Because like on campus, we had to then go emulate or replicate a similar initiative. And
Yeah.
so that was like when I started getting into teaching. So there was a local Greensboro high school where I would go like teach Python. And then some of the college students who weren't computer science, but they wanted to get into it, I would just kind of just do some more of that Python just after hours kind of thing. So it kind of just kind of went on from there. But that's when I first found out about the initiative.
Yeah. I remember the phrase, I'm not a businessman. Or no, I'm not a businessman. I'm a businessman. And I think we're seeing that with the current generation of high school students of they're not a businessman, they're a businessman because they can
Yeah.
build their own websites for their own brands.
Hmm.
And some of the students that I'm working with on the Civic Code, they have multiple websites, and one of them was counting out how many email addresses he has in operation. And there's a girl, she's based in the Sacramento area, and she's been working with people from other continents. I'm just thinking,
Wow.
at that time, I was just trying to play ball, man.
Right.
People were like, Scotty, you gotta learn how to play point guard. Yeah, I know. I'm a shooting guard. I got to be able to run the point. So, and these kids are saying, I'm trying to impact someone from the other side of the country. I'm like, at the time, I was just like, all right, there's Disney in Florida, Disney in California.
Right.
That was my extent of, America as one nation.
It's amazing like how fast like kids are learning these days. Like you have
Yeah.
kids learning the code before they even get to middle school, which is amazing to me. So
Yeah, they can code before they can drive. I'm like, what?
what?
Can't even buy your own groceries? Oh, well, you just made the money for groceries anyway.
Right, yeah. Over here mining their own Bitcoin, like, cryptocurrency trading, everything. They're doing it all. Like
Yeah.
it's really amazing. Uh,
Yeah. As opposed to me, 120 degrees mowing lawns, like, wait. I think there's a smarter generation out there now.
Right. Let me go build a robot to cut that grass for me. Like,
Hey, you know, if you can
it's
make a
amazing.
Roomba cut someone's grass, you know, all I know is we'll be terrorizing a lot of cats and dogs out there.
Right. Well, there
So,
is actually robo lawnmowers now, which is nice.
oh,
They're
that's why I
expensive
can't
though.
get work anymore. But yeah, so I think one of the cool things is you're already able to give back, whether it's through various initiatives from President Obama, whether it's just your own volition, whether it's just a classmate here and there. Um, and you were saying never give up. A lot of that, I guess, it comes from your own life, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like, you know, I started this thing when I was in college, like with a roommate. We were trying to do like web development on the side or whatever,
Oh
and
yeah,
it really didn't go far. But once I graduated, actually my senior year, this guy hit me up and was like, "Hey, I want you to build me an app." And I'm like,
yeah,
"Well, I've never done that before." And like, he was willing to pay me to build him an app. And I'm like, "All right, whatever."
yeah.
And 2 years later, that app has done almost a 500,000 in transactions
Ooh,
without any marketing, really, which is really amazing.
yeah,
And since then, this past summer, my wife and I started Long Software, which is our own little, consulting business for, mobile apps and web apps development. So I
yeah,
think, thinking back to college, like some people would have been like, well, this isn't working. Let me just give up. Let me just not do it. But, always in the back of my mind, ever since then, I wanted to have my own like software agency. And so,
yeah,
even not, I'm not charging big numbers. I'm just starting from somewhere, right? Just trying to build some sort of a brand. And going back to what you mentioned about having that family name on a piece of paper, now it's like having that family name on a business, right?
yeah,
Scaling it and taking the legacy onward. So it's definitely something that, that never give up is serious. Like you can implement that in all aspects of life, but specifically like business and like, entrepreneurship is one of those big areas for sure.
yeah. Well, if you want to move on to the next step, it's having your name on a school. Now, I have Shaw University in Raleigh, which I'm not sure that counts. It's an HBCU. So clearly I've been doing my part. So you gotta keep up, Brandon. I don't know, man.
You can
Yeah,
get
yeah,
some
hurry
credit.
up. Long University.
For sure, man. Nah, hey, anything's possible. Anything's possible.
Yeah, yeah. So for you, was there a specific moment where you're like, all right, you know what? I want to chase that. I want to pursue those goals. I want to start evolving. I want to
Yeah.
become a business man.
Yeah.
Was there a moment, or was there a specific moment?
So it was actually freshman year.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've ever heard of Amway, but this
yeah,
buddy of mine, like him and his family, they've been doing it for years and they're super successful with it. And he introduced the business to me and everything. And I'd never heard of it, but that was my first time like realizing like, well, this is entrepreneurship. This sounds amazing. Like
yeah,
started talking to other folks who had been doing very well with Amway, going to the different events and whatnot. And that's what put that spark in me to say, hey, I want to do this myself. And I did it through Amway for a bit, but realized like that's not the product or service that I want to sell and offer. But the
yeah,
concepts that I learned from Amway were transferable through any sort of business that I wanted to start. And so that's when I started talking with my roommate about the whole web dev and all that kind of stuff. But that moment specifically is when like the whole idea of entrepreneurship like really, lit up inside of me.
yeah, yeah. That's great. Yeah, because I think a lot of people will be like, well, I don't get what's the point of flipping burgers at McDonald's? What's the point of doing Amway? What's the point of this and this and this?
Hmm.
And I think that's the thing. I keep saying to people, if you want to be a good basketball player, you got to spend 90% of your time, at the least 90% of your time, or not all your time, but 90% of your involvement with basketball has to be in studying and practicing,
Yeah.
whether you're in a gym by yourself, watching game film, breaking down plays, and then the remaining time, at most 10% is going to play the games.
Right.
Because how else are you going to win if you can't fix the holes in your defense, if you can't work on a skill you need to close out games?
Hmm.
And what you're saying is the time you spent at Amway, you took all of that, the time you spent in class on it, you transferred all of that into what you're now doing.
Yeah.
And Amway wasn't the thing you want to stick with, but you learned a lot of the skills and found ways to transfer it. So a lot of it clearly was you had that practice mindset and moved into a space where you can say, okay, Now I'm going to put it all in, and now you have long software.
Yeah, and it's
So
funny you mentioned the I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. I actually have one of those posts on my timeline from the time I was in Amway, and that's like I just quoted Jay-Z just like that, so, the exact
yeah,
same way.
yeah, yeah. It's a great phrase. I think one of the really cool things is um, for you, you're talking about you had that moment in your freshman year. You had that experience going through Amway and saying, you know what, this isn't for me, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to go into web dev and all that. I guess obviously beyond just here's a starting point. You know, you have a spark, but you got to have fuel.
Yeah,
So what was it made that made you say, you know what, this evolution I'm about to embark on in my life, this is necessary. Not just, hey, here's something that'd be nice to do, but I
yeah,
have to have this. What was that?
yeah. So there, when I was in Amway, there was this thing that everyone talked about, and it was like defining your why and
Mm-hmm.
using that as your fuel. And it's evolved a bit since then. At the time, it was like my parents and that part of my family. And then
Yeah,
now that I've gotten married now and I'm building my own family, it's like that's my new why, right? Making
yeah,
sure that my child is set up to have better opportunities than I ever, could have imagined.
yeah,
And so collectively, like family has always been the why. Um, and for me, that's like what keeps me working, day and night. I'll do the
yeah,
day job, I'll do my side hustle, right? That alone, like realizing like my son's gonna be here in 6 weeks, I'm like, yeah, I gotta get to work, right? So that literally is my fuel to the fire. Like I can stay up till 6 o'clock in the morning, 3 days out the week, just trying to get the extra work done so that,
yeah,
when he's here, things are ready to go. So
yeah, yeah. Yeah, because I've kind of gone about it a little differently, thinking, all right, I'm going to focus on building that stuff before I start or getting settled down with someone to start a
mhm,
family, because then I can just be at home whenever necessary.
yeah,
But then at the same time, oh, I got to go to work. Let me hop into this room, log in,
yeah,
quick meetings, and then here I am. You know, as
yeah,
opposed to, because for my parents come from Taiwan, seeing how hard they work to get here, to even make sure that anytime we had a recession, at which I'm like, how have I had three once in a lifetime recessions in my life? Each
wow,
time, I had to move somewhere, but or just things went wrong for me.
mhm,
But despite that, I know with a lot of American families, they fall apart every recession. Where my family, it was always my. I mean, yeah, for me, it sucked that we have to move again because my parents had to find a job. And then with the '08 recession, I was like, all right, well, I graduated college at the wrong time. But we always were able to move on to the next thing,
yeah,
even if I didn't get to stay where I wanted to stay. So I think for me, it's like you said, how do you set yourself up so then your family has more than what you have?
yeah,
And for you, hopefully the next 6 weeks go really well. But I guess, for both of us saying, here's why we had to go through that evolution. This is why we are doing these things. For you, you're saying family is your why. And you're talking about your new family. I guess let's go back a little bit. Your when your parents, you and your brothers in Atlanta, or in Stonehill near Atlanta.
yeah,
Uh, Talk about the whys from that stretch of your life.
yeah. So, like I said, coming from first generational,
Hmm.
being the first generational college graduate, I look at things completely different lens. Seeing my parents, not that they had to struggle per se, but that they had different paths because they didn't go to college or because of the backgrounds that they had. So,
Yeah.
in my mind, I'm like, I want to make it so that they can retire early. They can just relax, because they took care of me for 18 plus years, and now it's my turn to go back and give back, or do what I can as the adult now. So
Yeah.
that was, like I said, that was an initial driver. But not that my parents are struggling now; they're doing very very fine. But as a student and as someone that's like being exposed to other students in college and their backgrounds, it's like, wow, I want to make sure my parents can do this and that. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, that was like during those Amway days, all I could think about is like, hey, when can my parents retire? When can they just chill for the rest of their lives?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. And for you to go from there to then say, I'm going to go to college, what was it that or I guess before that, what was that got you thinking, I do want to go to college? Because your older brother didn't.
Mhm.
And then from there to say, I want to go to NCA&T,
Yeah.
because a lot of times first generation students tend to stay closer to home unless there's that opportunity. And there's like, wait, because for me, for Duke, it's like, wait, it's the top basketball program. Oh yeah, I got to go to class. So clearly I was unprepared.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, I was a band geek. I
Yeah,
played the saxophone from third grade all the way through senior in high school, and plus
yeah,
the French horn. So I chose my HBCU because there was a great combination of a fantastic band and a phenomenal computer science program.
wow.
I didn't really care about being home. So, I could have, if that HBCU could have been in California, and I still would have been like, yo, I have to go there. In fact, Southern
Yeah,
University was one other school that I really liked, but their computer science program doesn't match A&T's.
yeah,
So that, was my deciding factor. Like, where can I be in a great band plus get a great computer science education? And, the rest was history from there.
yeah. I like to point out as well, for anyone who doesn't pay attention enough in March, the A&T Aggies are also a mainstay of the March Madness, the national tournament. So, that's
Oh,
another
yeah,
bonus for y'all.
for sure.
Um, I mean, it's just one of those things. When we're all looking into college, we're told by other people it'd be good to go to college, and then we all have to at some point say, yeah, I want to go there. And you made that
Mhm.
decision, and then you had to pick the school.
Yeah.
Like you said, freshman year, you started saying, okay, I want to focus on this, I want to focus on that, and transfer these skills. When you got to the point of picking jobs, or I guess not jobs, but when you got to the point of, I need to get internships, and then at some point you got into Microsoft, uh I guess for you, was it kind of like, oh man, there's a whole new world in college? I thought college was just go to college, where now it's like, no, no, no. College, you're trying to pick up jobs already.
Yeah. Well, one of the good things about A&T and a lot of HBCUs for that matter,
Yeah,
they let you know, like, within the first semester or two, like, in order to be successful with this degree, you also have to have some sort of experience.
right.
And so A&T's career fair was like huge every single semester, even in the spring when there's less opportunities. And so I did not count on having an internship my freshman year, but I just went to the career fair, networked a bit, and then found an opportunity through career services after the fair.
Yeah,
And that internship kind of opened my eyes up, showed me what I like, what I don't like. And it just, from there, every summer, every semester, really, I looked for some other opportunity to help me when I graduated.
yeah, yeah. And I like to point out to anyone who's like, oh man, I didn't get to have that because of the pandemic, I'm not on campus, maybe your school is not big enough, or for various reasons you don't have that. That's okay. If there's a company you're interested in, you don't even have to know all the companies. Just, I want to work in this field. Look at the top companies, right? Microsoft, if it's tech, Google. If you're not sure you can get in, that's fine. Just go ahead and Google stuff like HBCU. For example, Apple has the Apple HBCU Scholars Program. I think that's the full name.
Yep.
If you're a freshman or a sophomore, Microsoft and Google have programs, internship programs specifically for that age group. And of course, if you're good enough, they'll just bump you up to the full internship program. But there are ways for you to get in as a freshman, as a sophomore, as an underrepresented minority. There
Yeah.
are ways to get in, and of course, it's daunting if you've never done it, if you never heard it, you never had someone guide you. But just Google it, just look it up and say Google freshman program, Microsoft freshman program.
Yeah.
There's going to be information, and then at worst, just start reaching out, emailing them, obviously try to connect with some alums, whether HBCU alums, or if you're in high school, start reaching out to these college kids, these alums, that if they're where you want to be or somewhere similar, they can help you. You can follow their paths until you say, you know what, I followed the paved road, but now it's time for me to take an exit and follow a new paved road or blaze my own trail. So
Yeah.
for you, that was your start. You go to these career fairs, you got into Microsoft, and then you worked a year, and then you decided to join Dutchy, and along the way create your own company and all that. Well, I guess I feel like that was probably a big deal to say, all right, I made it to Microsoft, and peace. I'm going somewhere else.
There was a lot that led up to Microsoft too. So
Yeah.
I didn't get to the details, but my
Okay.
first internship, definitely, a huge opportunity. I got to intern at NASA in Florida.
Ooh.
Wasn't working on rockets, but still great
Yeah.
to just have that on your resume. And
Yeah.
then from there, it was just, job after job. So I got to spend a year at Oracle, both in person and remote. Then I got to do a semester at Sam's Club corporate that was in Arkansas. It's
Yeah.
totally
I
random,
grew up
but
right there.
still a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Actually got a really great mentor from that internship that I still talk to this day.
All right.
And then from there, funny you mentioned that I also did the Apple Scholars Program. So I got to that was like the pinnacle. Like that's where I wanted to intern, like
Yeah.
the peak rather. So when I was at NASA, uh, Apple had just broke ground on their like new spaceship HQ, and that was like my wallpaper. And like I'm going to intern there at some point. Um,
Nice.
Took 2 years, but I got there, interned there, and funny enough, I had also gotten an internship offer from Microsoft, and so that's where that relationship with them started
Okay.
while I was at Apple. And so really, it boiled down to going there full time or going to Microsoft full time. And so, although Apple was my dream company, the location and cost of living was not a dream. So uh, it just kind of came down to that. And then the people at Microsoft, not to knock anyone at Apple, but the people in the interview process and the hiring manager that gave me that offer for full time was amazing.
Yeah.
And that kind of just reeled me in, like gone there. Um, but at the end of the day, going back to my why, it's family, right?
Yeah.
Living on the West Coast was all fine and dandy. However, I now at this time was engaged. We were getting married soon, and for us, a big thing is to have kids near family.
Yeah.
And being able to see family. So we flew back to the East Coast or some other state once a month the entire year I was at Microsoft.
Yeah.
So it was like, this does not add up very well. Like, this is it really worth it? So, definitely having that experience set me up for all the opportunities that have come after Microsoft. But
Yeah.
we much rather enjoy where we are right now, being back on the East Coast, having a house, like it's a completely different world.
Yeah. 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 And here you are, hopefully, everything's going well and you're going to have your kid come along. He's going to get to say, all right, cool. All my uncles and aunties are right next door.
Yep.
And
Most of them.
yeah, and like you said, now that you're at Dutchy, you're also starting your own projects, or not projects. You're starting your own company, or already did Long Software,
Yeah.
and you're working for Dutchy, which is based in Oregon.
Mhm.
You're in the DC area, and this whole work from home situation has actually been a blessing for you.
Oh yeah. No, I think, given all that's happened and even some more personal circumstances, if I didn't have a fully remote job, things would have been so much worse right now. Like,
Yeah.
especially if they made me come into the office for whatever reason during COVID. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, the post-COVID world is looking so much better for my immediate family because of this remote opportunity. So that's why I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I know definitely, there's a lot of people who are trying to figure out, all right, this pandemic has put my life on halt. What do I do? Well, hey, Brandon is a great example. You just got to keep moving, never give up.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've already been impacting people by, for example, at TOs, you're already giving back, you're mentoring these students, you're teaching them, and you're representing to them, you're a physical representation of what they could become if they choose that path. And it's not you could become this if you work hard. It's if you work hard and choose this path, because if you work hard and choose a different path, hey, that's fine.
Yeah.
You've come a long way and now you can make your own choices. How else do you want to impact others?
Me personally, or are you talking about theoretically the students?
uh Either one,
No.
now, future, whatever you have in mind.
Yeah, so I think, the teaching has been great. I'd love to do that on a larger scale.
Yeah.
My schools have been fairly small, the ones I've worked with, which is the whole point of the program. But I've been looking at potentially doing some online like YouTube series and things like that can just live and exist forever that people can
Yeah.
always pick up. But in extension to that, going back to the long software, what I've been doing with this first 6 months since we started the LOC is like partnering with different students, both locally and even now we have two guys based in Nigeria. And most of the folks that work with me are either recent grads or current students. And the specific tools that I use are not taught in school because they are pretty new. And so a lot of that is also teaching, and you're getting paid to utilize what you're learning. So that's another opportunity as well. Just to kind of do some knowledge sharing while also, we're all building software to get experience and make some money on the side. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll have to talk about that some more because what I'm doing right now, maybe I can help out. So, you've talked a lot about all the different people that have impacted you, you've impacted them. We definitely always want to close out by highlighting some of the most significant sources of help in your life. So, who do you really, really want to thank?
So I being coming from a Christian family and being a man of God, God is always first and foremost for me.
Yeah,
So definitely thanking him is most important. Not only just for all the blessings he's provided me, but my family as well, because now they're next in line. My wife, my parents, my siblings, all of them have been nothing but great support throughout my life. And now my wife, she's being married to someone who's running a business. That in itself is a huge feat. So she's amazing. She's very intelligent. And,
yeah,
without her, I probably would not have even started Long Software. So it's really great to have a partner, not only just in life, but in business and everything that I do. So, yeah, I think, her and God, most importantly. So,
yeah. So it's kind of like in The Incredibles. Freeze, I think was his name. He's like, "This is for the greater good." His wife's like, "I'm the greatest good you'll ever have in your life."
yeah,
It's like
that's it.
that is so true.
It's facts.
Well, Brandon, thank you for your time. I know you got to get going. Really appreciate you coming on and amazing words. Hopefully, for anyone watching, this will be a big boost. It will be a lot of help to your life. Video description will include Brandon's contact information. Definitely feel free to reach out, and anything you want to ask. Hopefully, he'll be able to help out. So, I guess, do you want to close out with any last words?
I gave my quote already, which is, you typically my line, but yeah, I'm always here to give back in any way possible. So I'm hopefully everyone that was watching and listening was able to gain some sort of knowledge from this. But like he said, my information will be provided, and I'd love to connect with anyone that has more questions or even wants to collaborate at some point. I'm always looking for more developers and designers to share some knowledge with. So, and Scotty, thank you so much for having me, man.
Yeah, thank you, Brandon, for coming on. We'll have to bring you on another time. We'll have to figure out more ways to work together, and hopefully start Long University soon.
Hey, man, we'll see what happens.